Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
Your deepest memory remembers where you left it. Consciously, you don't remember that, but your subconscious does. And that's where it really gets fun.
This is perfect timing for this book, Random Acts of Healing. Using pendulum power to heal ourselves and our planet. That's the book with Kak Young, PhD. One of the things I think is most timely about this is working with energy. And my mom has been a dowser since I can remember. And so watching her with her pendulum, and she carried the pendulum in the car. It was always with her. I think it's excellent. You've really got a lot to this, too. There's a lot of stories. I'm going to let you tell it, though.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you for helping me publicize this. I mean, I really did go deep with this book, and also extremely practical, because I want it to be a handbook for everybody. And I don't want people to think that it's weird or occult, but it's a way to be in touch with our subconscious. It's a way that our inner beliefs and our subconscious can talk to us and tell us things. And it's so easy to do. It takes a little discipline. It's kind of like training a puppy. You have to be very patient. But the power that the pendulum has really resides within us, and all we have to do is let it out.
Well, you talk about, as a kid, your memory of a pendulum. Would you share some of that?
Oh, yes, I'm happy to. My parents were amazing. They bought some land. They had the foundation laid in concrete, and then they had the framing put up. And then my dad, who was an electrical engineer, decided that he could save a lot of money by doing the electric and doing the plumbing. So every night after work at 5 o'clock, they would bundle me up. I'm like 4 or 5, and we would go up to this house, and they would work. It was in the Pacific Northwest, so sometimes we had a lot of light, and sometimes in the winter we didn't. We had to use other light. They plumbed and electrified the entire house by running the wires. And my dad, when he was plumbing, he had this big vat of molten lead there that he kept molten, because that's what you sealed the pipes with. And in order to know where the pipes went or where to string the things, he used a pendulum. He used a lead pendulum that was called a plumb line. So I saw him use this pendulum, and every now and then it would move a little bit, and then he would use that and to get his straight line. Well, I was fascinated with that, and so he showed me how to play with it, and I was playing with it when he wasn't using it. And when he scooped out that hot lead, we would always do a fun thing, like he would stir it, and we would play witches, and we would play that it was our bubbling cauldron. So I had a lot of fun with my dad, and I really trusted him. So I made a little pendulum in a craft class later on, and I began to just kind of play with it and ask it questions. And so I grew up with a pendulum as one of my best friends. I was an only child, so sometimes my pendulum and I would chat with each other. It became second level to me until, some people started to call it weird or strange and all of that. But I always kept using it for different things. And then I was surprised to find out that a lot of people didn't know how to use it, or it wasn't second nature to them. And that's why I've been sharing it for years and years and years with people. And then they said, well, put this down in a book. Not everybody can go to your classes. So that's how it all developed, and that's how it all started. I was a baby dowser, I guess, at the age of 5.
Yeah, you got the up close and personal introduction, and then carried it on through. And when people start to make fun of you or say, "Oh, that's weird" or whatever, when you find out it works, it doesn't matter what they say, because at that point it's like, yeah, that's all right, and then you continue using it. I like that.
Yeah, and it's fun to watch other people get to understand it too, because it is kind of spooky the first time you get answers to questions that you ask. Like you usually start out with something small, like, is my dog named Fido? And you wait for the pendulum to tell you yes or no. But before you do that, and I'm jumping ahead, you have to establish the direction. Where's the yes and where's the no? So you hold the pendulum over a little chart that I have in my book, and it will guide you to whether it's yes or no. And some days for me, it's opposite. I have to check every time I use it. Sometimes the pendulum wants to tell me yes is horizontal and no is up and down, vertical. So I have to check with it and see what mood it's in, and then I can begin to ask it questions. But when you ask it questions, you want to make it simple and direct and something that the pendulum can answer. You don't want to speculate. You don't want an opinion from the pendulum. You just want yes or no answers. And then you become like a prosecutor. You become like a lawyer, and you keep asking questions and questions and questions. And again, it's like the court. It's a good example because you can't lead the witness. You can't invent something. You just have to ask the questions, yes or no, to get to the root of the answer. So it's a combination of listening, of holding it correctly, of patience, and asking simple questions that it can answer, and then continuing to ask the questions until you get the answer that you're after.
Even when you're choosing something to use as a pendulum, my mom has used a ring on a string. I had a really neat experience with crystals. We were looking at different pendulums. There was one I connected with, and the minute I used it, the energy just shot through, and it made it was receptive and responsive. So I learned that it does make a difference if you find a pendulum that works with your energy, that's responsive to you. There's something to that.
There's something absolutely to that. And certainly, when people pick crystals for themselves to use in healing, they're going to buy the one that feels right in their hand, that they connect with. Exactly. Pendulums are the same things. And if you choose a gemstone or a crystal pendulum, you also want to bring it home and cleanse it. You want to get rid of any of its vibes from traveling or maybe mishandling or something. You want to cleanse it. Even if you buy a secondhand one, you definitely want to purify it so that it really just vibrates to your particular energy, and you and it can work together.
Well, my mom used one that was plastic. She used her ring, which was her energy. It was the metal, the stone of the ring and the gold and all that. What do you work with? What works best for you?
Well, one of the first ones I have people work with is I give them all a little washer, a little just a plumbing washer, and then I have them tie it to a string. So we work with that first, just to get the basics, yes and no, and back and forth, just like your mom would use a ring. So that's work. Now, what I work with, I have an assortment. I've got to have probably 150, 200 pendulums, and they are metal, and they are gemstones, and they are amethyst, and they are crystal, clear quartz, and they are citrine, and they are just everything. I have a turquoise crystal. And again, I take them with me. When I go to PowerPoints, I take them with me, and I consecrate them in that energy too. So they've been to Sedona, they've been to Stonehenge, many of them have been to Egypt with me, they've been in the King's Pyramid. So I take them around the world with me, my key ones. And I have one that I bought at Tara, just outside of Dublin in Newgrange, and I love that one. It's a very heavy one, and so I only use that on special occasions. Mostly I use a lighter pendulum that is really responsive to me and to my questioning. But if I'm doing a reading for someone else, I might choose one that has a little bit more weight, because I'm picking up two vibrations now, theirs and mine. So I want the pendulum to be able to hold both of them and respond. So it just depends, and it also depends on how I'm feeling and what I want to do. I know one pendulum that I took to Stonehenge, there's a particular rock at Stonehenge that is the Presley blue stone, and it's not part of the Stonehenge shape. It's right at the entrance. And it is so active and such a vortex that literally my pendulum was jumping up and down like one of those jumping beans you get as a kid, And anyway, it was jumping up and down. I thought, holy crap. I mean, I really had to hang on to it. It was just so energized in this energy. And I wish I'd brought more pendulums to have captured that, or put some in a jar and taken it with me. But it was amazing. And they are sensitive to geophysical locations. So I take them with me.
Well, I do think the character of place is important. Somebody I interviewed previously, I think Meg Hansen, who was talking about Metaphysical Ireland, and Newgrange is one of the places that she talked about, saying there was a tremendous energy there and recommended it as a power spot.
Yes, I have studied Druidism, and they have a lot of full moon ceremonies. Now, I'm in a different time zone, but there will be many times when I will share that energy with them when the moon is full, or we're doing a solstice or an equinox ceremony across the pond, and I will join them in that feeling because that energy travels and translates.
Oh, the other thing, since you're bringing that up, does it make a difference, time of day, time of month, that when you're working with your pendulum? Does that influence it?
Well, it does a little bit in the sense of how you are. Centered is number one. So if you are in a hectic, frazzled mode, the pendulum is going to give you less accurate results because it's going to get confusing signals from your subconscious. That's why you have to really say, okay, I'm going to do my pendulum work now. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to center myself. I'm going to raise my vibration. I'm going to breathe, and I'm going to allow this time just for us. And then you hold your pendulum 3 to 4 inches above your little target, and initially you're going to want to have that little chart, the yes and no chart, so you know which way is yes and which way is no. And remember, it can change reading to reading. So then you'll do that. You'll center yourself. You'll breathe. And then you begin to ask just basic questions. You want to get in tune with the pendulum. So you do little things like, is my dog named Fido? Is this Tuesday? My name is, what is my name? Is my name such and such? And so you'll do little things like that until you get a pattern. And once the pendulum is in the pattern of responding, now you can trust it. You can trust, and you can begin to ask questions, whether it is about, is vitamin A good for me? And it will answer yes or no. Is vitamin B12 something I should take as a supplement? Is vitamin C good for me? Should I take 1,000 milligrams? Should I take 2,000 milligrams? And of course, you wait for the answers. I'm just going very fast. But your pendulum will tell you what your body would diagnose for yourself. So I like to use it in food. So if there is something on the menu and I'm trying to stick to, like, I don't eat any saturated fats. The only kind of fats I eat are monounsaturated, and that's for cardio reasons. So I will ask the pendulum, is there saturated fat in this item in the menu? And the pendulum will tell me. That's based on 2 things. One, my prior knowledge about food and nutrition, and also it taps into universal knowledge as well. And so it gives me a reading from both things, and I can decide whether or not to eat that particular kind of food. And so on. I mean, you can decide. You can use the pendulum to help you decide pretty much everything in your life once you get to know it and know its limitations, or the limitations you put on it by asking the right questions, and also how far out your questions are, like beyond its capacity.
People like to use it for finding lost items. That's a huge benefit.
Yeah. And that is so fun to do. There are several ways you can do it. I was demonstrating how to find a lost object in one of my classes. I started out in one corner, and I would ask the pendulum, and it starts to make sort of an oval shape as I'm approaching whatever it is lost. Well, anyway, I go these 4 corners, and it leads me to this little dot in the middle of this gymnasium. And it's a little purple sticker that one of the little kid dancers had just put there, like after their little tap class. And I realized at that moment I had forgotten to hide or ask someone to hide an object for me. I got so carried away with demonstration, I forgot the main point, which was somebody hide a quarter, somebody hide a something somewhere, and then I'll just go find it. I forgot to do that step. So what the pendulum did was take me to a purple sticker, and purple is my favorite color. I have everything purple, including a car. So it took me to what it knew was my favorite color. And the whole class just burst into laughter because it still responded. And that was kind of like an amazing moment.
I'm imagining the look on your face at that point, like, here I am looking at this purple dot on the floor, and it just stopped you in your tracks.
Exactly. And I was sort of like, well, a combination of, well, that was pretty dumb not to hide an object, and then one of hilarity and delight that it had given me something anyway that was correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're working with a pendulum and trying to find things, it's also difficult if you are projecting, if you think it's if you already have in your mind an idea of where it might be. So how do you clear yourself to be able to pick up something totally objectively? You address this a little bit, but I think finding a lost object, it's even more important to know that you're starting with a clean slate.
Right, and I think you have to just simply trust. I think you have to say, okay, my preconceived notion, let's just put that on hold, on the back burner, while I actually test the efficacy of my pendulum. Because somewhere in my subconscious, I know where that object is. My sense memory remembers where I left it, dropped it, put it, etc. But you have to say, all right, so I'm going to put that onto the pendulum right now, and I'm going to let the pendulum find it. So you kind of like, try not to think of a pink elephant. So all of a sudden you have to think of a yellow giraffe. You have to train your mind to not dwell on that. So, okay, think of a yellow giraffe and not what you're doing. Change that in your mind, and then begin the work with the pendulum. And you start out really saying, okay, is this object in my house? Okay, and if it says no, then you say, all right, is the object in my car? And you might get a yes. So you begin to ask the questions, I call them the reveals. And as you reveal where it might be, then you hone down. So if you say, if it's in the house, and if the pendulum says, yes, it's in the house, okay, is it on the first floor? Yes or no? Then you go through okay, is it in the living room? Yes or no? Is it in the den? Yes or no? Is it in the kitchen? Yes or no? And you keep asking questions again, like a prosecutor, trying to get down to where it is. In the kitchen, okay, it's in the kitchen, great. Is it in the silverware drawer? Is it in the drawer where I keep the towels? Yes or no? Is it underneath the sink? If you keep asking questions until it leads you to that. So yeah, you're doing the work. You're asking questions in the pen. But see, your memory remembers where you left it. Your deepest memory remembers where you left it. Consciously, you don't remember that, but your subconscious does. And that's where it really gets fun. If your object is overboard and you dropped it overboard somewhere, you could still find the location where that happened. Now, you'd have to repeat going out on the boat. You'd have to do that. You might not find your object if it's down deep in the sea, but you could find the location of where you have dropped it.
I think it's interesting. I think her name was Elizabeth Mayer, and she had help finding her daughter's lost harp. Now, the reason to find it, because it was expensive. And this was the book is extraordinary knowing. I had to look it up real quick. But I remember reading about that, and she had the dowser. I think he was president of the Dowsing Society at the time. And she said, I've lost this harp. Is there any way you can locate it? He figured out a spot, triangulated basically, and she put up signs asking for help and offering a reward. She actually did find the harp, and somebody came forward and the reward, the whole 9 yards, and she was absolutely astounded because she didn't believe in any of this. This was a desperate moment of leap of faith. I'll try something way out there, and found this expensive harp just by having somebody douse it for her. These things are real. It works.
Yes, yes. And I'll tell you, after the fire one of the most fun discoveries for me was the guy was putting a roof back on a garage. We had to rebuild a lot. I lost 25% of my house after the Thomas fire in 2017. And so the roofer guy was out putting the finishing touches on it, and he saw a guy with a big fluorescent vest out in the middle of the street, and he had the dowsing sticks. He had 2 metal dowsing sticks, and he was out there, and these little sticks were moving and crossing and doing things, and he was fine. And he had the Department of Water and Power on his vest. And so my roofer guy jumped down. He said, what are you doing, man? What's going on? And he said, well, I'm dowsing for water here because we're about to change and fix some pipes here after the fire so we can repair the things that were burnt. And so I'm looking for water here. We don't want to drill down and hit the gas line. We don't want to hit any of the electrical. We want to just do water. So he said, are you kidding me? You're doing that? Wow. I mean, this is like, don't you have like a meter that would do that? He said, we do, but the most valuable thing for me is to find it with these dowsing rods because it's the most accurate in my history. So he says, here, try it. So he put the dowsing rods in the hands of my roofer, and he said, just walk around slowly and watch what happens. And well, he was just astounded. He was like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing. Look at that, look at that. He said, and so the guy takes out his marking spray can and goes, creates an X, and he said, okay, right in that spot where you found the water, that's where we're going to dig. And so he was like so thrilled. He went back up and, nailed his nails a little bit more. He was dancing and singing. He experienced exactly what these people do for a living. And sometimes they use their meters, but many times they don't. And there's tons of videos, dowsing videos, where their whole occupation, men and women, their occupation is to go find water in like the desert. And they can find like a place that pours out 500,000 gallons a day if they find the right vein of water that is underground. And they do it by dowsing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And there's things that we just, I don't know, we got away from in our society that just seemed like that was folk information, and it was, it was quaint, but it wasn't necessary because we were far more advanced. Well, no, we're not. This is a human issue that we all have these abilities if we can learn, because it can be trained, learn to access that. That's what I think is excellent. Your book is full of beginner basics, but it's also more expanded because you go into how you can deal with issues that might be core issues from the time you were a kid or even a past life, if you're looking at it that way, and finding out, okay, why do I have this issue? What is the problem? This is a mind, body, spirit part of your book.
Right. And we work with our subconscious like we're training a dolphin. First of all, you have a fish and you have a dolphin and you have a rod, you have a bar, like a limbo pole, and you want the dolphin to jump over that. So you want them to do that, and you if they jump over it, you give them a fish. If they go under it, they don't get a fish. Pretty soon, you could raise the bar a little bit higher and a little bit higher, and every time the dolphin succeeds, you give it a fish. Well, that's how you work with your subconscious. You're training it. You praise it. Every time it delivers something good or correct, you praise your subconscious. You thank it. When you're working with a pendulum, you have to think about the things that are primary to it, and one of them is the attention that you pay to what you want to find out, and then you ask permission if you can do that. For example, if you're dowsing on land, do you have permission to be there? Then your technique is to hold it 3 to 4 inches above what your chart that you're using, the yes and no chart. And then you train it. You have to train your pendulum and your subconscious in the positive way. You do that by having patience, and you listen, then you develop your listening skills. What is the pendulum telling me? And if the pendulum gives you a no answer, that may or may not be a definite no. It may mean not right now, or it may mean we need more information. And then you have to be persistent like the prosecutor, continuing to hone down the questions so that you get to the right answers. And then at the end, you show gratitude to the pendulum for the work that it has done with you. And I think when you work with the mind and body, I talked a little bit about supplements that you can work. But when you want to get in deeply into the subconscious of what your blocks might be, you start out by using some of the charts that I've provided. I've actually made some of these charts. I've made all these charts on a site called Subtil, SUBTIL.net. And it's a common license. You can go in and make your own charts. And these charts I've made so that you can find out about a problem that you are having. Maybe you're angry about something. Maybe you constantly have chronic pain. Maybe you want to get to the bottom of that. And you can self-diagnose by finding out where that pain comes from. So I've got body, mind, and spirit as choices. So if you hold your pendulum over this, you would say, where does my anger come from? And it will tell you body, mind, or spirit. When it goes into that, now you open the book to the page that has the answer. So if it says mind, then you go to the chart that says mind. And now we hold it over because there are choices within mind. And then it will tell you in mind where that particular issue comes from. And then I go deeper with another chart beyond that gets you deeper and deeper and closer to the answer. And so if it had said body, for example, then we would go into the body and we would find what part of the body it's at, and then we would go deeper into that too and find out that. Now, you can take that information to your medical doctor, or you can begin to treat that yourself by forgiveness exercises, by spiritual practices, through meditation, because what we want to constantly work to is raising our own vibration to the point where we self-heal. And when we self-heal, we can go out and use any of the techniques that are available, sound, light, Western medicine, whatever we want. But mostly when we heal ourselves, it's all about raising our vibration so that the body is less stressed and more able to put the energy into healing than it is with dealing with something or fighting something.
And we are energy. It's how we deal with life, period. Some days we wake up and it's like, oh, this is great. It's a wonderful day. I feel full of power. I'm energized. Another day it might be like, this is a tough day. I don't know if I can get the energy to go into work, whatever. But our energy fluctuates. And the more resistant we are to whatever issue is in our way, the more the body, I think, locks up and you become a victim or powerless in being able to shift it. So when you have a higher vibration, then you're feeling like, okay, I can tackle this. I can take care of this. And that's a good time to work with the pendulum when you feel like you are empowered and get the pendulum to work with you. And I think belief is part of it because then you're giving it permission to respond. Whereas if you're in any way critical or skeptical, then you're saying it won't work, so I'm not going to do it. And those things I think are powerful in the way we set this up to work for us. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And, and I completely agree with you. We are energetic beings and we are either in a fight or flight mode. That's what the history of our DNA is. And we're beginning to change that now so that we have other options. But when we're in a fight mode, we're against something and all of our energy, all of our concentration goes into resistance. And when we are in a flight mode, that means we are running away from the problem or leaving the problem behind, and that gives us a chance to heal. So if we fly from something, then we can raise ourselves up and transcend it, and it doesn't have to bother us. And I think that's the power of the pendulum, is allowing us to be in that quiet, sacred moment where it's just me, my inner self, and my inner healer, and I can let that little magician out to help me heal.
I like the fact that you also deal, when you say you're going deeper, with past life memories or with karmic influences, because having some past life memories, I know there's one that I have in terms of being incredibly anxious when it comes to heights. and I've dealt with this. I know it's there. I put myself through the paces to say, okay, I'm not afraid. I'll deal with this. I'm going over this high mountain pass. I'm okay. I'm okay. And the entire time my body's saying, no, you're not.
Right. No, you're not, because I remember the time when.
Yeah,
exactly.
And so, but dealing with that and saying, okay, where's this coming from? What happened? And how can I shift my internal sense of safety, of security, away from that fight or flight, fear, lockdown mode, and into I'm okay. I'm okay. And I think the pendulum, as you demonstrated, can help you with that.
It can, because you can get deeper and deeper and deeper and keep asking the questions until you get to that moment when somebody pushed you off a cliff, or, something like that happened. And then you can actually feel your knees stop shaking.
And working with a pendulum, you're saying, where is the source? What caused this? And how can I pull it back in and remember I'm okay? Yes.
And you can continue to work with the body, mind, spirit chart, find out where the source of that fear is. And it might surprise you. It could be physical, it could be mental, or it could be karmic or spiritual, and in that realm. And then you go deeper into the next chart, and then deeper into the next chart until you get to the answer. And you might even find a time where you have to make your own chart based on a series of incidents or some things that happened in a particular year. It depends on what develops. That's why you go and make your own chart and then bring it down and print it out and use the pendulum on that. And then you can hone it down and figure out, you could get down to the time and the hour and the date and the century and the location if you wanted to.
With the charts that you have, like when you're talking a body, is it a reproductive issue? Is it, is this a specific organ that's going on? That's so helpful to have the chart to know how to narrow the focus.
And I think what it says to people, and what I want it to say to people, is you are powerful. You have the power to go deep inside and figure out your own problems. You don't have to go out there and pay $300, $400 an hour to a psychotherapist when you can do it yourself. You're an extraordinary, powerful entity, you yourself. You don't have to depend on anybody else. This is a tool that you can use to get into your deepest, darkest places. And they don't have to be dark. They can also be light, but it's usually the dark ones that prevent us from doing something in the present that we would like to fix. We would like to transform that so that we can be free of it and do better, that we aren't in a fight mode, or we don't feel kidnapped and forced into something. So, yes, we work through these issues, and we can do it in the privacy of our own home. We just need a little time. We need a little self-discipline. We need courage and knowledge that we are powerful beyond our wildest imagination. And therefore, our own self-therapy is unlimited.
You also offer helpful tips on the kinds of things to say, like affirmations and creating healthy relationships. An example, you're saying out loud, and it does make a difference to say something out loud. You're setting it. My intention is to transmute the negative qualities of harmful and non-beneficial memories and beliefs from past relationships into good and positive ones. So there's a specific example of what it would be helpful to say, of how basic it can be just to ask a good question and have a decent result.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
How do you feel when you switch to Geico and save on your car insurance? It's like finishing your laundry and successfully matching all your daughter's baby socks together on the first try.
Let's see. Panda socks, fire truck socks, socks with those cute little strawberries on them.
You matched each and every one of those tiny socks. I mean, has this ever happened in the history of laundry?
And a penguin wearing a cowboy hat socks. Done.
Enjoy the moment, Dad. You've earned it. Yep, switching and saving with Geico feels just like that. Get more with Geico.
The entire idea here of our life on Earth is to perfect ourselves, to cleanse ourselves, to use this life for self-knowledge and self-evaluation so that we can be whole enough to say, okay, I feel good. Now let me go out and help others. And that's what the last part of the book is about reaching out to help and transform our world, to help other people, to use our skills and our abilities. I mean, once we become conscious, once we become aware and self-enlightened, now we go out and we help other people and we help cleanse them and purify them. We can help clean the water. We can help clean past experiences for people of abuse. We can get rid of patterns because we fall into patterns, and that's a vibration, and then a person lives at that vibration in that pattern as a victim, and we can get rid of some of that victimization that people feel by using our pendulum. And people say, well, we can't do that. Come on, that's crazy. No, it's not crazy, and that's the whole point. Once we believe in ourselves and have the confidence, now we can reach out and we can actually help and change our world. We can do it. It's going to take a tribe. One person has one person's power. You put together 100,000 people, you've multiplied that power, and now you have a movement. And now there's something, that's a coup. We can stage coups for good.
Well, you also write about feng shui, you write about Reiki, you have a lot of different aspects that you're drawing into to bring this book forward. And all the entire time, I think you've been using the pendulum and just thought maybe, well, okay, this is something I do as a natural thing. And you didn't really, why did you wait so long to write this one, huh?
Well, because I've been teaching it for a long time. I needed to get to the point. And I think when I came across Raymond Grace, when I came across his work, I said, okay, I need to leave a legacy too. And I'm all about now writing all the things down that I have learned and practicing and leaving it behind so that other people can pick that up and carry on. When you get into the legacy mindset, you want to teach and leave and give everything that you've gleaned throughout your life for the rest of the people to have. And that's what this is about. This is a book that's very complete. It starts with a history, and most people don't know the history of the pendulum. Even Raymond said to me, I never knew the history of the pendulum. I learned a lot from your book. So I was very grateful to him for that. But there are people out there doing wonderful things. Vern Cameron was an amazing guy in the 60s that the government hired because he was a dowser. And they said, Mr. Cameron, can you figure out where our submarines are on this world map? And so he took his pendulum and his dowsing rods. He used two things, and he found where all the submarines are. And they were like astonished. This was the U.S. Navy. And then they said, well, okay, can you find the Russian subs? And he said, sure. So he went down, he pinpointed the Russian subs. So there, in red are our subs, and in blue are the Russian subs. And they're like astonished. And they said, Mr. Cameron, do you have a passport? And he said, sure do. He said, could we see that? So he gave them his passport, and they said, okay, now here's the thing. You can't travel, and we're going to put you under some sort of guardianship where we have to figure out, because you are now a national treasure, and if you get into the hands of the enemy, we are toast. So we're going to keep our hands on you. So this poor guy, he had no idea that he was going to be now, you're going to wear this ankle bracelet and we're going to chain you to this tree. No, they didn't do that. But they really kept their eye on him because he was a national treasure. I mean, I've heard of other people that the government has done that to when they are so high up in nuclear and atomic energy development that they can't leave the country either, because if they got kidnapped, they would be a huge ransom. We would like all of Mississippi, Florida, and 5 other states to get him back. So these people are extremely valuable, and you could not find the Vern Cameron story for many, many, many years. Now you can. Now it's out there. You can check it on the internet. You can see the stories and the references. But it's true that there have been people that have been so accurate with this that they have become important. Even our own government.
As soon as you said, "Do you have a passport?" I thought, "Uh-oh." That's
Exactly.
a trick question. That's
Exactly.
a trick question.
Yes. Yeah, and he didn't need to use a pendulum to know where his passport was. It was in a vault at Fort Knox, So
Safekeeping. Well, okay, and
exactly.
I also like the fact that when you travel, you take your pendulums with you. So you're actually speaking to a wider issue there of the energy that is around us at all times. Some places actually are more infusing, where we can go and we can build the energy, and others might be draining. And you can take your pendulum and douse that to see, like ahead of time, is this going to be a good experience? Where have you found for you the most powerful places when you take your pendulum?
There are two. One is Roslyn Castle, and the other one is Egypt. When I was at the Sphinx and in the King's Chamber, I found my pendulums they were like alive. It was like they had little faces and hats, and they were speaking to me. They were just energized from ancient energies. It was amazing. So, and in Roslyn Castle, it's everybody wonders, well, is the Holy Grail buried there? Is it buried there? My pendulum said yes. And so we went as far deep down as we could get. And then there was another place in France, Saint-Marie de la Mer. Above that, there is a chapel dedicated to, a church dedicated to Mary Magdalene. And there is a head preserved of Mary Magdalene. And I took my pendulum and I asked, is this really Mary Magdalene? And the answer was yes. And it had been kept and preserved by the Dominicans who owned this particular church, or who, built it in honor of her. And that's where she died. She and Mary and Martha came over on a raft, according to Dan Brown, and that's where he got his history from these areas. And it's pretty interesting part of southern France. And we spent a lot of time there just feeling the place and walking the path. And the pendulum correctly told me that, yes, that this was a correct allocation, that it was, yes, indeed, Mary Magdalene. So I don't know. Dan Brown's stories make a lot of sense to me about how the heads of Christianity ended up. So that's what I found out asking it historical questions.
And that's amazing. I wouldn't even have thought of that. But yeah, that's incredible. Okay, so for places that you would avoid, have you stumbled upon a few of those?
Wow, that's an interesting question. No, I'd have to say no. I don't. I haven't done that. I mean, there are places that I know vibrationally I don't want to go into, but I pretty much go boldly into that good night. So I just sort of go anyway. But I don't think anything would keep me out of any place, except maybe a fire, having had that experience.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, no, I don't use it as a warning device, but maybe I'll try something.
Well, I was just curious because, obviously good, bad, medium, there are ways to judge energy, and some might be draining. So you say, this isn't a place I want to stay or frequent. And I'm guessing Transylvania might be one of those places just for me.
Might be. Yeah. Ivan the Terrible's castle. Yeah, that'd be one.
I'm just thinking off the cuff, just so, okay, maybe there are some places out there that might be left best on their own without me wandering through. I wanted to be one of your pendulums, since they have traveled all over the world to really unique places. It's like you're listing off, well, they've been here, here, and here. I'm like, my goodness, wouldn't that be a lark? So get on the list to travel.
Yeah, they're pretty fun. Yeah. Well, I was in the Colosseum, and answering your question, I was in the Colosseum, and I did notice that my pendulum was active, and so I took it out and I just said, I don't know what to ask you. I don't know what you want to tell me here. And so I didn't ask it any questions, but I did know that it was vibrating. It was very much alive. And it loved Athens. It loved a lot of those places. And it was extremely happy in Delphi. And I asked, I did ask it if the Oracle of Delphi was real. And the answer was absolutely. So I did ask it that, but I haven't, but I think now I will travel more and ask it more specific questions.
I think as you travel and you learn, and not only that, as you learn with your pendulum, what you can do and how it will respond, the more you use it, the better you get.
Well, that's it. And I'm pretty, I've pretty much been raising my consciousness and my own vibration for years and years and years. And I have a spiritual vibration scale that I judge things by. And so when we are at peace, we're at 600. And when we're in fear, we're at 75. When we feel shame, we're at 20. So we really want to keep our, joy is 540. And when we're neutral, we're just like around 300. When we get some courage, so that means coming out of a place of fear, maybe we jump up to 250. But if you really, you really want to be up there with Gandhi and Siddhartha and the Buddha, you want to be at 700 plus. Well, the Dalai Lama is reportedly at 1,000. So that's where you want to go, and you can just raise your vibrational scale by yourself, by definitely meditating, by staying in an affirmative state of mind, by expressing love, by not trying to control the world or people. You just want to be helpful and serve them. At the same time, you're taking care of yourself and your own needs, but you're doing it in a spirit of joy, not a have to. You're not burdened. If you can keep yourself at choice all the time, so no matter what anybody is doing out there or who they voted for, you remain complacent and at peace because that's their choice and it does not affect you and your state of mind because you're choosing peace, you're choosing wholeness, you're choosing to be aligned within yourself, you're choosing to be congruent in body, mind, and spirit. And as you continue to do that on an ongoing basis, you will find you have the strength of 800 bulls. You can face anything because you know you have the truth inside you, and that's where the pendulum helps you get to. If you do the work, you continue to go inside, you're going to feel better and better and better about yourself and your choices, and you know that you have a friend, you know you have someone that you can talk to, and that's just worth its weight in gold.
Even if you're just balancing your energy, the minute you pick up the pendulum, you know, okay, I'm in sync, because it will respond either if you're not in sync, not as quickly, or if you are, just like a fine-tuned machine. It's automatically on, and then you know, okay, I've got it. I've got that vibe, that frequency, and here it is. So in a way, it's a good barometer of what kind of energy you're holding.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can even ask it, on a scale of 20 to 700, where is my energy today? Is it 500? Yes or no? Is it 200? Yes or no? Is it 100? Yes or no? Is it 600? Yes or no? And it will tell you. And so once you begin to work with that and ask those questions, you'll be able to say, well, now how do I get myself from 125 up to 500? How do I do that? Well, maybe I need to take a walk. Maybe I need to go feel nature. Maybe I need to meditate. Maybe I need to just distance myself from all the distractions, and maybe I just need to go out there and find some wholeness and bring it inside. And now go ask your pendulum again after you've had a session. You can even walk on the treadmill. Don't put the TV on. Don't listen to a podcast. Listen to yourself. Just be still and do that work. Come back and then double check where you are. And you'll find that your body is going to respond to what you tell it you want.
Mine will reward me for locking up the Snickers bar.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Gold star.
Absolutely. Right there, you've gone up 150 points. Click, lock them away. There you go.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, though. Once we start judging something as a bad thing, then immediately it has more energy. We're drawing to it by putting that weight on it. So just saying, okay, I don't need this, or I can do something else instead of trying to be judgmental and either punish or knock ourselves for doing something negative. I think it really does help to say, okay, I just turn the energy a different direction, to say, yeah, that was yesterday, this is now, and I'm good with that.
Exactly. And what's my choice in this moment? My choice is to be healthy, to be whole, and to feel good. So that right there is going to determine what your next decision will be.
Okay, now using the pendulum to ask about your pets. You have pets and you use your pendulum. Did it tell you to adopt a dog? I think the cat voted no.
The cat said no. Actually, they've been pretty good, I must say. They're getting a B+ today. They're getting a B+, and a couple of them have gone up. The little dog is about the size of a squirrel, and he's so cute. He weighs 2.3 pounds, and all the outfits I pre-bought him before I saw him were way too big, but now he gives XXXX small, and he's, it's like today I just put on his new little harness on him, and you could put that same harness on a pear, and it would fit exactly the same.
He's tiny.
He's non-threatening.
Yeah. The cat's going to bully him all over the place.
Well, yeah, they're pretty mild-mannered cats, and they know, they look at me, they look at him, and I say, guys, this is a chance to love, okay? This is the way that we love more things. And they're like, yeah, how about a treat? Okay,
yeah, right.
Here's a treat.
Right,
there you go.
You're being loving, you get a treat. Okay, yeah, we'll do that.
Exactly.
Well, congratulations on the new arrival.
Oh, thank you. His name is Jackson Xander with 2 X's, so he's good.
Oh, cute.
He's good.
Cute. My Jack is a Papillon, and he has an attitude, and the cats and he are equals. Whether they know that depends on what mood Jack is in. So
perfect. Yeah.
So, but he lets them know that he has a wide space around him. I'm assuming that's his aura that he's protecting.
Of course it is.
But they're able to sleep, and once he's knocked out down for the count, then anybody can walk around him. But watching the dynamic of pets, I think is it just reminds us that there's so much more going on here that we cannot control, but we can appreciate that each and every one of us has a different relationship with life and with our space and with the people we choose to associate. I'm so glad to have tools like this, which is an intuition, kind of an enhancement. It gives us a way to view our space and improve things without harming somebody else.
Well, exactly. And without spending thousands and thousands of dollars to have somebody else give you their opinion of you. Now, I do appreciate, psychotherapy, and I do appreciate the process. But I'm also saying that the power is within. You have it. I have it. All we have to do is use it. And the book, Random Acts of Healing, using pendulum power to heal ourselves and our planet. Get healed first. Find out who you are, what you want, control all that, change your mind, heal your spirit, and then step out and start to heal the world and your environs. Do that. And my gosh, you're going to feel so wonderful, so powerful, so exciting. And then people are going to come to you and say, how do you do what you do? You're so peaceful. You know what you want. And then you just hold the book up and say, try this. Get to know yourself and then help the world.
The website is kacyoung.com, KACyoung.com. And you're working on another book. I just mentioned that before we started talking. I think this is another cool book. Where are you with that?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I would say I'm about a third of the way through the prose that I'm writing. And it's a book on past lives that have spontaneously come up during a Reiki session. And I'm working with some of Shelley Kerr, Dr. Shelley Kerr's history and clients and patients that she's done over the year in her regressions. I'm working with Raven Key's stories from giving Reiki to the ladies and gentlemen who helped do the cleanup after 9/11. There was a lot of souls there that made themselves known and present to these workers. And I'm asking for other Reiki masters around the world to contribute their stories, and they're coming in now, and they're pretty powerful. What happens when you're doing a Reiki session and someone starts to have a past life regression, or you feel it and experience it and talk about it later, it's various different kinds of experiences. But when we are in that state of relaxation and in that vibration, the veil is lifted, and so other things can come through. Other entities, other thoughts, other memories can come through, and that enriches the experience. I've had a past life regression, and it was extremely powerful, and it turned my life from being in television for 30-some years to doing the healing work that I'm doing now. So I know how powerful that kind of a revelation can be. It's an exciting book. I think it's medicine for the future, as I think that the pendulum healing is. All of this stuff is about vibration and about healing ourselves and about getting through all of those, the DNA that's handed down and also the emotional life that's handed down generationally. And if we can heal all of those things, then we can move forward at a rocket speed instead of being held down by the vibrations that keep us stuck in the mud.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing that book too. I mean, I don't think you've written a bad book, so you're on a roll.
Thank you, Wendy. It's actually my 31st book, so I'm excited.
Amazing. Okay, well, definitely one to look forward to. And this one, Random Acts of Healing, available wherever you want to, Amazon or on the website at cacyoung.com.
Yes. Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for this time, Wendy, and for being supportive of healing and people healing themselves and us making it a happier planet all around.
Thank you.
When we heal ourselves, it's all about raising our vibration so that the body is less stressed and more able to put the energy into healing than it is with dealing with something or fighting something.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.